Hey guys, today's video is going to be my favorite books of 2021. I'm sorry if you can see my cat's tail just swinging around. I actually just filmed this whole thing earlier and then I realized that I wasn't recording. This happens all the time. But that's okay because I'm excited to share these books with you guys. It's going to be pretty fast, I think, because there's 3 thriller books and the less description for those books, the better. So all of these books I gave five stars throughout the year of 2021. And some of these I actually read in the beginning of the year, so I might be just a little bit off, not off. I might not remember a lot of details about the book when I share them to you. I'm just gonna move him because I don't want you guys to be looking at him like himself this whole video. So to start off this whole thing, I want to share with you my favorite book of all time, and that is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. And this is a book about God. This is a Christian fiction book, and this book is a sort of retelling of the story between Hosea and Gomer in the Bible. So if we don't know the story in the Bible, God tells Hosea to go marry Gomer, right? But Gomer is actually a prostitute, and no matter how many times Gomer goes back to the brothels or goes back to other men instead of Hosea, he still constantly pursues her. He still goes back and he pays everything he has to get her back to be his wife and stuff like that. So in the story of Hosea and Gomer, that is supposed to be a reflection of our relationship with God. It is supposed to show how no matter how many times we fail, no matter how many times we go back to the sin that he saved us from, he will continue to go back and reclaim us from the places that we left to. And so in this book, we actually follow a guy named Michael Hosea and a girl named Angel. And Angel is a prostitute and Michael Hosea is a farmer. And God tells Michael to go marry Angel, which sounds really good, right? But Angel honestly wants nothing to do with Michael. She hates him. She can't figure out why he would choose to love her after everything that she's done. And so in this book, we kind of follow their story, their love story. And throughout the book, Michael kind of is trying to get Angel to realize that he doesn't love her for what she can give him. He loves her for who she is. And throughout the story, we also see Angel come to God, their relationship, or we see Angel's and God's relationship. I'm not going to say expand. We see it come to life throughout this whole story. We see how God is using Michael to help Angel, and how God was really with Angel the whole time that she was going through a lot of the stuff that she was going through. And this book is actually going to be a movie. It's coming out on January the 20th. I'm so excited. Not only is it about Michael and Angel's story, it's also about other people's stories too. There's other characters in the book. And if I had to choose 3 things that this book is mainly about, it's forgiveness, love, and grace. Because there's so many times in this book where I read the part and I'm thinking, like, how could you forgive somebody who just did that to you? Like, I don't understand. Or how could you do that to him when you know that he loves you so much? And the amount of grace and forgiveness these characters show to each other is really amazing. Francine Rivers' writing is phenomenal. Okay, just phenomenal. Even if you're not a Christian and you're just looking for a really good love story, I think this one is really, really good. And I can honestly tell you that I know for a fact that God told Francine Rivers to write this book, because you can see him throughout this whole pages. Like, I mean, this girl just had the anointing on her to write this book. I mean, it's a movie coming out too. If you want to cry, read this book. I'm not a really big romance person. I really don't like romance books. Only sometimes I do, just depending on the style of romance. This is a super good, clean romance that all points back to God and our relationship with the Lord. And I'm so excited for the movie and I can't wait to watch it. So this book is, out of all the books that I'm about to show you, I think the #1 book I would tell you to read. Okay, we have another Jesus book coming. How did I say that? Jesus. Another Jesus book coming to you, and that is Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen. I cannot talk today, but that's okay. So this book is actually about stopping the spiral of toxic thoughts. And if you suffer from anxiety like me, then you know that your mind can be a crazy place, right? And something that I know and something that is proved is talked about a lot in this book is that our mind is a battlefield. There is a war going on for the stuff that we think about. And in the Bible, let me see if I can actually pull it up. I had it up here earlier, but I'm not sure if I had it. Oh, 2 Corinthians 10:15 actually tells us that we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And as Christians, we take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. And so in this book, she kind of explains to us in detail, actually great detail, how we do have the power to control over what we think. And that sounds kind of like we have the power to control every single thought. No, that's not the case. Sometimes our thoughts are not of us, right? They're from the enemy. But this book tells us how we can stop them when they show up, right? And so one verse that I really like that explains the whole book, I think, well, is on chapter 24, and it says, "The danger of toxic thinking is it produces an alternate reality, one in which disordered reasoning actually seems to make sense." And when I say this book has changed my life, I really mean it's changed my life. The way it's starting to change the way that I think, because I know for me, I can start thinking all these crazy things like, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or this is never gonna happen, or like I am just not myself in my thoughts, and I know these thoughts are not of me. I know they're of the enemy, and here she teaches us how to use scripture to rebuke the devil, especially in our mind, right? Because if what I know to be true is if you give the devil a place in your mind, then you are just not handing your life over to him, but you're just giving him free reign to control the way you think. Because in this book it also explains that our thoughts control the way we act around each other, or in our relationships. Our thoughts control how we feel about ourselves. Our thoughts actually can make us physically sick also. So this book is 5 out of 5 stars. So good. I actually did it actually read this with a friend of mine, my best friend Megan. We did a buddy read on this. So if you have somebody that you can read this book with, I highly suggest that you do, because it was really fun talking to Megan about all the different chapters and what we thought of each one. And this book is going to make you think. And when I say think, I mean really think about your life and what thoughts you're thinking of, and how you can make it obedient to Christ, and how you can change what you think, and how you have a lot more power over Satan through Jesus than you know. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So now for our thriller books. So this one is actually The Girl on the Train. I talked about this in this video I posted about 10 months ago. So I'm gonna try and remember what this book is about. So we follow a girl, I think her name is Rachel, yes. So Rachel takes the train every single day to work. And on this train, she sees this couple outside their house every day, right? She sees them drinking coffee and all that stuff. So she ends up giving them this life in her head. She gives them 2 different fake names, and she gives them fake jobs. And she just makes up stories about them. And so one day, she sees a husband doing something that she never thought he would do. And then 2 days after that, the girl that she sees with him all the time, or his wife, she ends up going missing, and it's all over the news. And Rachel thinks that she can help solve the murder, or she attempts, not murder, I'm sorry, she's not murdered, helps solve, did I just ruin that? I think I just ruined that for you guys. She just helps, or tries to help solve the disappearance of this girl. I think I just gave that all away, but that's okay. But little does Rachel know, what is it with me and not being able to talk today? Little does Rachel know she plays a bigger role in the missing case of this girl than she knows. This book is actually a movie. I haven't seen it yet. A whole year I haven't seen it, because I read this I think in the beginning of January. But this is actually a really, really good thriller book. This is the first thriller book I've ever read, and I'm really, really surprised at how good it is, because it really makes you think about what's happening. And in this book, she kind of feels like she's going crazy, and as you're reading it, sometimes you're like, oh, I think you kind of are crazy, because everything's coming from her perspective. And then other times you're like, no, you're not crazy, but all the other characters think you're crazy. So you're trying to figure out, like, how is she gonna make them not think that she's crazy, because you end up starting to believe everything that she sees. So highly recommend this book. So the next book is going to be House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. and this is supposed to be a retelling of the 12 Princesses. I'm not familiar at all with the 12 Princesses story. I haven't read it, I don't know what it's about, but from what I've heard is the similarities between that story and this is that there's 12 sisters and they go to balls in both stories. So in this book we follow Annalay, and I think I'm saying her name right, I hope I'm saying her name right. She has 12 sisters, or had 12 sisters. Her sisters actually started dying from the oldest to the youngest, and so she ends up going on a quest, I would say, to try and figure out why her sisters are dying. And in this book, you kind of like start, well, it's from her perspective. It's kind of like the girl on the train. You think she's crazy because all this stuff is happening, and other people are like, no, that never happened. And you're thinking, then what's happening, right? Like, if you saw it and but other people are with you saying that never happened, so what's the deal? What's truth and what's a lie? So in this book, these girls, or her sisters, they end up finding this little, I don't want to say tunnel, or this little hidden spot where they can travel secretly to another castle. So they start doing that with each other. They start going every night to these dances, and then they start realizing, hey, like, what is happening to us? Because we think that we're going to dancing, but other people say, or other people who are there are saying they've never been there before. So then little by little, some of the sisters actually start going crazy too. And I know that's not a very good description, but I can't tell you anything else, because if I say anything else, it's going to ruin it, because you have to, I would say, go into any type of thriller with little to no knowledge of the book so you can fully understand what's happening and get the full effect of the book. I know that's a weird description, but that's the best that I can give you guys. It's actually really good, I think. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, which I thought I wasn't, but the ending was pretty interesting, pretty twisted, and I enjoyed it a lot. So the next book is going to be The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and I'll put it somewhere up here if I can so you guys can see it. This book is, I wouldn't say inspired by Clue. It's kind of like Clue. So if you love the board game Clue, or if you love the movie Clue, I think that you would really, really enjoy this book, because in this book you're kind of playing investigator. You get 5 different point of views. It's from the bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, and the bridesmaid. So this book is basically about this magazine editor and this famous guy. They end up getting married off the coast of Ireland, I think, and it's really secluded. Only certain family members are invited, certain immediate friends are invited. So there's not a lot of people invited to this wedding. There's still a good amount, but not a lot. So before the actual wedding reception day, they have like little get-togethers with the wedding party and the parents and stuff like that, how you normally would do. And throughout this whole time, you are going back and forth in the present and the past. You're going back to the past, to when they were in school with each other, and you're going through all these different stories, all of these different conversations that when you read don't seem important, but as you go on to the story, you're realizing like, oh, that conversation they had was actually really important, or that little detail that she put here actually plays a bigger role throughout the whole book than you think. I actually really, really like the fact that it goes back in time and back into the present, because I think then you'll be able to get the full effect of the book. What ends up happening at the actual wedding is that somebody is murdered, and throughout the whole wedding party, you're trying to figure out who killed who and why did they kill them. And it is so good. It was so good. I actually think they're making it, I'm not sure if it's into a movie or if it's into a show, or I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. This book is like Clue styled. You're trying to figure out who did what, and you're like, no, I think it's you, and then you're like, wait, this other person seems a little bit more suspicious. I highly recommend this book. Really interesting, really fun to read. I recommended it to people around me. They enjoyed it. They said the audiobook was amazing too. So if you're not a really big book fan or don't want to read, I highly suggest the audiobook for you to try. Thank you so much guys for watching this whole video. If you watched it all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. I'm so sorry about Bilbo. He's an interesting cat. I just wanted to say thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed these videos, and I hope you have a great week.